September 19th, 2025. About 10 months ago, last November, we started working on this house. We thought it was going to be just a couple months. It's turned into 10 months now, but we're just about ready to get out of here. So let's go take a look at this house and see where it's at right now. You can see some patches of dirt around as we've done some leveling in the yard. There's a power wash. We did that recently. It's yeah, some of the grading. There was an ash tree here, and it's about less than 20 feet from the street, and there's like an 80-foot tree or more, and the county told us to cut the branches, and there's a lot of branches, and it would keep happening year after year. So, and with emerald ash borer and people, anyway, we went ahead and cut down this ash tree here. It was a loss, but with the choices we had with the county, and for us, it made sense to just take it out. And then, so that was probably one of the saddest things. It was a nice shade tree. So we go here to the side of the house, and you can see we're mostly done. We're still working on it. There's still little patches of dirt and things to clean up, piles. There's one pile. We shoveled a lot of dirt, as you'll see. So we come in here, and there's coming into the backyard. Here's the deck we built. So we came in here in November, and we thought that we could just patch up the old deck, paint it, replace a few bad boards. But it turned out that a lot of the boards were rotten, the screws are rusty, the design wasn't so good. It was the 1970s, so it needed to be updated for more modern standards. And so we went through the whole process. We had last November, we started tearing down the old deck, and then first of all, we painted the old deck, and then after we decided that we couldn't save that, and then we started tearing it down before the end of the year, last 2024, and that took till into the spring. And then at the same time was going through the approval process with the county, making plans for this one, and that took a few months to get that right. And you can see there's a concrete wall back there, and that's important for this structure, and we had to demonstrate that goes down. If we want to use that for structure, as you can see, it's used for structure there. If we want to use that for structure, we had to show that wall goes down 30 inches, and so we ended up digging down in there and showing that, and then we got to use that. So we have the post there, and then it's coming off that concrete wall over there, and that concrete wall is retaining the hills. So let's go see that. So we built this deck here. It's about 28 feet long, 8 feet sticking out. One of the issues was the setback. The old deck came out several feet further, and it was into the setbacks for the neighbor's house. You can see there's a fence there. We get a few feet over on the other side of the fence, but not much. And so we set it back here to 8 feet off the house, and the county approved that, and it's within our setbacks. So we built this new deck here. And it's nice to have the space underneath here. It's a nice place to sit and take a break. And then the old deck went out. There's the posts. There's two of the posts there. There's a third one over here. And so there's a 3 posts for the old deck, and you can see they're old rusty. That was all that was holding the old deck up, pretty much. There's these rusty posts, and you can see one under there still. And so we tore down the old deck, and unfortunately we rebuilt it because it unfortunately didn't fall down. Unfortunately, we had to tear it down before it fell down, and we put in these new posts. We had to dig through the concrete. We put in 4 posts, 3 across the front here with the beam, and then that 12-foot section we used that concrete wall, and so we built the 4th post over there to sort of act as the other place to hang joists on of this side. And so we hang joists. So we have joists going 2 different directions, coming perpendicular to the house on that 16-foot section and parallel to the house, because there's a whole kitchen cantilever here. There was another issue we had to go through the county. We couldn't put any weight on this kitchen cantilever, and so you see that none of the deck is on that. So we use a concrete wall and a couple supporting posts and took it off that cantilever, which made this 12-foot section have the joist go that way, and that 16-foot section over there, going to 90 perpendicular to that. So we got that taken care of. Took a few months of planning and working with the county, but it turned out pretty nice. And then the other thing was the landscaping. So this was all eroded. Let me just step up here. So you step up and look on the other side, and there's a whole hill here. This had eroded down over the years, over the decades, and it eroded down to where it was up over there. That's 8 to 12 inches high over there, and that's how deep this was. And what they did was they put down gravel and rocks. A lot of these rocks you see sitting around were buried in the dirt. So over the decades, they would throw down gravel, put down rocks, stepping stones, and then they would build it up as it soil eroded down. So we came in here and we dug this down below the concrete pad, which took a lot of digging through dirty rocky dirt, and then we dug it in terraces. We dig it in levels, and so we did the stepwise terrace here. Each level we'd have to dig considerable digging, finding rocks and roots and all kinds of stuff in there, and then we made our way up this hill through the year, digging and digging, and then when it was ready, we put in these wall stones here, and so we built this terrace up this hill here that was eroded and full of debris, and then we tied it into the deck here, built the back side of the deck up here and connected with this little step down, and we put this concrete sidewalk in. So we feel it came out pretty nice, and that goes back to the garage door. We'll step up on the deck here so you can see two different directions of decking boards. But we could have done angled. I talked about doing angle, but this was so much easier, just cutting them this way and not laying them down. So we got this. We finally got this built in the summer. So we went through all the tear down, planning with the county, and then finally built it up over the summer. And then we have this. There's the terraces. It's a nice view overlooking the terraces here. And go back into the backyard. We did a lot of grading in the backyard. We sifted rocks out of that dirt. And we finally got to planting grass over the last 2 weeks, and that's growing. We've been watering that. It's been hot here in September, so with water, there's been grass growing. And we put down the sod down there. That's not the grass that was here. We laid that sod after we put the bench in and put those border stones down. So we should have the water flow. Look at that. Just one or two more things here. So we have this gutter coming down. So the gutter from the house, half the house is coming down right here, and that was one of the reasons there's a lot of erosions. They had this French drain system, but over the years it lost its drainage and turned more into an erosion hose. So we dug that out, and we took this downspout, and we have it going underneath here, and it should flow out through the extenders, and that is our yard behind the fence there. So we're trying to get the flow out this street, and we could have this downspout extender go we could put another hose on there to make sure it goes out to the street better. And then there's the garage drainage, and that's going down into the yard, so we're not too worried about that. We got the gutters cleaned, so we cleaned out the gutters, we redid the downspout, and we have it draining out of the yard. So that should take care of a lot of the drainage going out of the yard and prevent some erosion, along with these walls here to hold it back. And we're using that fence, as you might have been able to notice. Some of the rocks there, stuff we dug up out of the dirt, and as we were digging and then putting these terraces, and we would use those across the fence there. And then so I had to use that edge there, worked around the trees somewhat. We did cut some roots. And that's about where we are with the outdoors here, and that took a considerable time, months of time here. And we got a nice view. I'm not going to show you the neighbors, too much. And there we go. And so there we could look inside the house, and there's my reflection. But you can, inside the house took some work too, and we've been working on this for months and months. Here you can see there's the new flooring. We redid the kitchen, and I'm not going in here. You can see we're trying to keep it clean, so I'm not going to do the whole house tour. It's pretty standard with new flooring. We redid the bathrooms, kitchen. There's a basement. It's not finished, concrete floor. Oh, no, sorry, we did put flooring over the concrete floor, and that's about where we are in this house. And we have a great view of the sunset, relaxing up on our new deck. And you can see, I don't want to give you too much of the neighbors' yards, but there we are. All right, that's where we are. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening.